right, everybody, welcome back. Now, I hope you were able to catch the two-part episode with Brian Wold and Blair Hickey from Casting About and Actors Access Breakdown Services. So in that episode, we went really deep on why Actors Access is the #1 casting site in the world, and talked a little bit about the 1.3 million actors who are on that site. And now that we're past the panorama, I always think that people probably heard you may have heard from Blair and Brian in the past, but now that we're on the other side of this 18 months of upside down world, I think it's important to hear their new information about how casting directors are relating to relating to your profiles and how that equals more auditions. So if you haven't listen to those episodes, I'd recommend going back to give them a listen. Now, today, we are breaking character once again. I have Summer Mastain on my team who is here. She is our actor community happiness expert and success expert here. She's the camp counselor. She's the support. She is always alongside me, and she's been with me since the very beginning. And so I said yes to putting myself in the guest seat, the hot seat today, so that Summer could really grill me a little bit more on why casting profiles are so important and what are some of the trends going on right now and why they 100% equal more auditions for you. And so that's where we're going to go today. And so Summer, I'm going to very timidly hand you the mic, and please don't hurt me. Here we go.
All right. So here's where I want to start. The world is different now, past the panorama. We can put ourselves on tape for something shooting anywhere, and we're primarily putting ourselves on tape. So what do we do with this?
Such a good question, and first of all, I want to just underline one of the things you said here. Yesterday, I asked a couple actors, what percentage do they think they're putting themselves on tape versus going into the room? Because we know that there's a little bit of a hybrid world right now. And one said 90 and one said 95%. I was asking Summer and someone else on my team. And so that's any indication. I feel like let's stick at a cool 93% of auditions are self-tapes. And knowing that Joe Blow in Hawaii and Celine Dion in Atlanta, Georgia, and Jenny McCarthy in Iowa, I'm really choosing special names today, but anyone can put themselves on tape to submit for an audition, means that the pool has gotten bigger. Now, we all know that there's certain permutations of that where we're only hiring local or that kind of stuff. So I don't want to just say that anyone can get a job anywhere. We know that's not quite how it works, but for a majority of jobs, that is how it works. So what that means is we're in a bigger pool now, right? And what I find is it's so easy for the actor to start to think about, is it my headshot? Is it my reel? Is it my representation? Is it my acting isn't good enough? Is it my self-tape setup good enough? Is it I'm not getting the right kinds of auditions? That could be part of it, right? I'm not getting enough auditions, or I'm getting the right auditions, but for the wrong roles, right? All this story we can start to make up around the normal story we would make up about those things. We now have it on a global scale. So now we have more. And because we're also lacking that such palpable, joyous, incredible experience that you have when you're in an audition room, where you can feel ooh, I did a good job. I'm doing a little dance over here. You feel that little sexy actor swag of I felt the vibe in that room. They liked you, right? So at the deficit we're at right now, and I'm not trying to make this all doom and gloom, because I think that there's actually good news at the end of this. At the end of this whole process, which is the kind of the conversation we're having today. Did I answer that question, Summer?
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing is that we got to double down on what we can control because of the large pool.
Yeah.
And I just start to think of reps. Brian and I, a lot of our work is helping actors find the perfect rep for them. But once you have that victorious moment and sign with your agent, unfortunately, you're not done.
Yes. I wish that you were done, right? And that's a tricky spot, because I think I think most of the actors that I talk to, they know that once you have representation, you're now I just put my feet up on the couch and eat bonbons and wait for the auditions to roll. I think most actors know that. So I'm not talking that actors bail once they get representation, but there's specifically around casting profiles, which is what this month is devoted to. There is a set it and forget it kind of mindset. Now, we might go back in when we get a new headshot or we get a new credit, but it's a little bit like I think of it like your Time Warner bill. Like you put it on auto pay and then you don't think about it anymore. Like once in a while, you're like, did I get overcharged? Like, are they charging me for a router still? Like maybe every 3 years you'll look to see if that's happening. Like that's how I think you relate to your profile sometimes. And I don't mean that you don't update it, because I do believe actors update. They add their credits when they remember to, although I will say 9 times out of 10, when I sit down with an actor and say, let's look at your Actors Access profile, they'll go, oh, I forgot to put this on there. Like they will immediately think of it. It'll be a training thing. It'll be a credit thing. So if you're listening, there's a little piece of advice for you to run with right now, is just go see what you forgot to put on there. And then the other thing that I think people do is they don't realize that, like, that website, I've said this before, all the Actors Access, casting networks, which we all know, casting networks had a huge change. And however you feel about that, not everyone is good with change, right? So however you feel about that change, like that change was tremendous. And so Actors Access, casting networks, again, these profiles are created, I've said this before, to make you look uniform, and we have to find our spaces to make you stand out, right? And that's one of the places where you do think you have control. Yeah.
And I think where we get stumped is, how do I know if it's working?
Yeah.
There's so many different sections and variables, and then so many different jobs and people that are on the other end receiving your profile. It's hard, it's difficult to understand where we need to make changes and when, and like, how long should I measure this small change I made to know if there's an impact or not?
Yeah. And I think it's, it's so weird, right? Like in any other business, you would collect data and be analytical about what's happening. If you were a scientist, you'd be like, okay, we're going to put 3 drops of ascorbic acid, and I'm not a scientist, right? And I'm going to put 3 milligrams of, sulfur, and I'm going to see what happens, and blah, blah. And then I change my denominations of how much of this and that I'm adding so that I can get the outcome that I want. Actors, it's so easy because no one's like, I think, talking about this, is to say, I'm not, so I look at my profile, the way that I react to my business, let me slow myself down here. The way that I react to my business as an actor is, I'm not getting enough auditions. Okay. My reps suck. I don't have reps. I need better headshots. I need a better reel. I need better self-tapes. My self-tape setup sucks. Like we can just run the loop, right? Or it can be even more hurtful, and this is where it gets a little painful. I know Summer's covering her ears right now, so if you're watching this on her uncut version on YouTube, you'll see this. Or it's more painful, like I'm too big, I'm too small, my time is not in demand. My acting isn't that good. What my mom said about me is true, and I should have become a dentist. Like it gets real dark real fast. And if we can just come all the way back to, where are we getting this data from? And right now we're getting it from the stories in our head. We're not getting it from a real place. I saw you wanted to react there. What were you going to say?
And the first list is where my head is, of like, oh, my shit's not good enough. It just makes me think about money right away. And then I'm like, oh my God, I need to have so much money just disposably ready to like upgrade things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have that.
Right. So I would say that one of the reasons I became a coach for actors is because I became really protective about actors' money and time. Those are the 2 resources, right? And because we all know, I think as actors, I think everyone's grown up as an actor enough to know, like, you're probably not going to make your entire living from acting until you get to a certain level. And I think that most actors that I talk to have started to understand and almost embrace that, which I think is a beautiful, beautiful thing. But but the dollars you do earn are precious to you. And so here's $10,000, please spend it on your casting profile. Hell no, that's not the answer at all. Right.
Right. To like go shoot a scene for your reel that like may or may not turn out the way you want it to. Like, no, thank you.
And if we're going to go to data, may or may not fill the hole that's actually missing from your profile. And because you didn't have the data to figure that out, you are just making it because you think you need it. So what I see is so missing here is a way to test, a way to know, if I make this change, what will it affect? What numbers will go up or go down? What will happen if I make this change? And you said this beautifully on our first episode together, which was, the delete button is an awesome thing. We need to know when we can use the delete button, right? And so I think it's really scary to say the way that I'm going to test what's next is I'm going to take something off there or whatever, right? So what I just wanted to kind of plant the seed, what I want to underline today, if I can, and somewhere poke holes in this if it isn't clear enough to you, is what would it be like to know that you had a way to test your profile and then take action from that place?
You know what I just thought of is like sometimes when you are on the phone with like Spectrum or whatever, and they do the speed test on your internet.
Yes.
That would be so convenient. It takes like less than 30 seconds.
Yes. So I just want, you know this, I just went through some horrible internet situations at my own home. I mean, people in our community know this because I was at Summer's house actually having to record things and have classes from her house because my internet was so bad. And, you know, the fix-it person came to the house and was like looking under the hood and like going up the pole and checking, like doing like, what is the data that they're discovering, right? And it took more than one visit. And so we as actors are so willing, and this is what breaks my heart, I think, we're so willing to hold the mirror up and say, it must be something I'm doing wrong or something I need to be doing more of. And before we're willing to say, am I even testing this correctly? And you know what, that's the plight of any creative person. I think that's the plight of any creative person, because we know when we say yes to a creative career, like, or we've bought into the idea that there's going to be some kind of a struggle. And so I think it's so admirable for actors to go, let me hold up the mirror and say where I need to do my stuff. But I actually want to say, let's hold up the mirror and see the actual thing that's doing the tool that we're using. Because one of the things that I always say is like, managers, agents, casting directors don't have magic wands. They have computers and emails and phones just like we do. And so they're using this tool to decide if they're going to call you in no matter what. Like, this is the number one tool. And one of the things I always talk about, and I'm repeating myself on purpose right now, unless you're at the level of offer only, your representation will be using casting profiles, your casting profiles, Actors Access primarily. So unless you are Nicole Kidman, even the actors at CAA are being submitted with Actors Access. So I want to just really take off, like if you're poo-pooing this conversation, or you're thinking like, yeah, mine doesn't matter that much, or my headshots are so good that it does so much better. I will even say that, like, you may have great reps and you may even be getting good auditions with your reps, and you could be getting more because your profile doesn't look as good as it could. Because you are just you're like, oh, I want to say you're like leaning back and doing the bonbon thing, but you might be like, I'm getting the great number of auditions, but you're like, have no idea that it's because your reps are so good or their name is so good that that's why you're getting in. It has nothing to, actually your profile sucks, could be the truth. So we need a way to test that. So Summer, I went all over the place. Does this feel clear to you? Is there any question you have where I'm at right now?
Yeah, no, I'm right on board with you. I want a way to know what's working on my profile and what isn't. I like actually went away for a little bit and was like mentally going down mine and was like, all right, let's make a plan. Let's make a plan, Summer. Like, what do you need to upgrade? And you know what I thought of too is like I've looked at other actors' reels, you know, lots of them. I've looked at other actors' IMDb bios, you know, I'm familiar with them. But you know what I haven't like looked at is other actors' access profiles.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've spent zero time doing that.
Yeah. And so you're kind of teeing me up, and I don't think you realize this, so much of why I'm so excited about our free training, right? The gimme more auditions. So if you're listening to this on the day that it came out, which is Wednesday, September 15th, today, tomorrow is our first of these 3 trainings. And I would love to see you there. It's free, it's an hour long. And one of the things I just keep thinking about is, when is the last time you spent an hour perfecting your casting profiles? And make a date with me and let's do this together. So if you go to gimmemoreauditions.com, and it's spelled the Brittany way, GIMME, moreauditions.com, and grab your ticket. It's completely free. Summer and I will be there. I'm going to lead you through what we talked about today, which I think is so exciting, a way to test your profile. And I think for now, I just want you to think about, so you can be open to what you might learn from this, because it is confronting. You might find out, dang it, I've been living with this profile for 3, 5, 10 years, and this has been wrong all the time. I just want to prepare everyone for that. So I want you just to think about, so you're teed up to take it in during our class tomorrow or next week, to think about, what would it be like to correct, repair, perfect, renovate your profile, having the data as to what's working and what's not. Just what would it feel like inside? What comes up for you when I say that, Summer? Do you have a feeling a little bit?
It's like I would know right where to go.
Yeah. I had when I thought about it, I was like, I felt sense like, oh, I'm like really powerful and in charge of my career. Like I have control, like this is something I have control over instead of, it feels like whack-a-mole. Headshot, resume, reel, headshot, resume, reel, self tape, headshot,
On
resume, reel.
repeat. Yeah.
Right, yeah, right. Instead of that game, right? So we're gonna have the anti-whack-a-mole training, right? This coming week. Anything else, Summer, that comes up for you around what we've talked about today, just to kind of.
Oh my God, just like, and I'm getting older all the time. Like I just have to say that, like that comes up for me. And it's like, I don't know, even once you get really happy with your profile, it's like, I'm changed.
Yeah. Yeah. And
that's stressful.
Totally. And it's really stressful. It is stressful. And one of the reasons that I'm really vibing with what you said now is I know this is heartbreaking, I think, again, where I know so many actors who will be challenged to find their castability in a way that isn't just on a hamster wheel forever, because we're growing and changing as actors and as human beings all the time, or you're growing and changing as actors. And so because of that, the hunt for Red October, the hunt for your castability becomes very almost fascinating, to the point where, because you never have an answer, you never feel confident about what you're putting into the world. And so that's what comes away from me, is if you were able to data test this thing and be clear, oh, I'm missing this, or I need to take that away, or that credit, how bizarre, I need to take that credit off, like to be able to have that kind of clarity. And here's the other thing that like is the big surprise that is not a surprise. Tell me the last time your representation sat down with you, for those of you who represented, and said, let's have an hour-long conversation about your profile and like really get it the way that I like it to look, right? I think that often like reps are looking at it, and some actually will go there and tell you to make some changes, but usually their answer is, I need more footage and I need a new reel and I need a new headshot. Right? Those like headshot and footage are their two answers usually, right? Oh wait, let me give the other one. You need a new headshot, I need new footage. We just need to get you more credits. That's the other one, right? And to me, that's the sneaky little hole that doing this test can help you with so much, because I don't mean to tease the test so much, you guys. It's just harder to teach without me being able to show you on a screen. So we'll cover it in the class. I don't just feel like I'm holding back on you here. I want to make sure you can take it in the class, right? So what happens is, I think that without that little hole of like, well, when you get more credits, I just think of this actress who had done a few guest stars, and she kept getting called in for co-stars over and over. And she's like, they're never going to call me in for a guest star. They're just never going to call me in for a guest star. I'm stuck at co-star land forever. When she did these changes is when she finally busted through that, and she got her first series regular. And after doing this, and it was such a shock to her, because she had incredible training. She had every single credit you would imagine was the right one to have. It wasn't about that. It was about seeing her in this way. I can think of another actor who had come back to acting. He'd taken a break and he was coming back to it. He could not get an audition in LA to save his life, other than like random student films that paid no money. And the second he made the changes, I mean, like you do them. We understand why you do student films. You all get it, right? The second he made this change, we had to turn down auditions in the week, because he got 10 in 1 week. Now that sounds like astronomical. That number feels hard to believe. It is the 100% fact of what happened for him. And that doesn't mean it was just move a few words around. By testing it, you might find out, oh, dangly do, I do need one more headshot in this particular category. Or those headshots are doing freaking great, and I'm not getting called in for this role. So I just want everyone to just kind of embrace the idea of, what would it do for you to know that you could test and have some certainty in this area? That's what I'd like to leave everyone with, I think, today. Summer, anything else you want to leave people with for today's episode?
That's it.
That's it. All right, so I hope to see you guys at the training. GimmeMoreAuditions.com. You'll even see a really wild GIF of me as Britney Spears on the page. So I hope you really check that out. And I hope to see you tomorrow or one of the other dates. Take care, and thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get you more auditions. Pilot season. This is our first pilot season in 2 years. I think 2022 is going to be our first real pilot season. And there is no better time. I always think about this, and I don't know if actors are thinking about it. Like, let's pretend there's a casting office you really love, and let's pretend you're even getting submitted to that casting office. Well, how many roles in a season are there going to be right for you? So maybe you're only getting in front of them 1 or 2 times. Why not get your best foot forward, or the things you can control now? So by the time pilot season is rolling around, like, you're already on fire and people are knowing who you are. So I think there's no better time to focus on this. And I'm so glad that I'm going to hopefully get to see y'all in class. All right. Thank you. And Summer, thank you so much for hosting.
You're so welcome. It's a joy.
We'll do it again. All right, people. I'll talk to you soon. Be well.